So here's the example exam1 file. First thing that I do is I name it with my last name and then first initial, first name, something along those lines. And to go through, you're analyzing data for an airline. The spreadsheet fuel requirements is used to calculate the fuel requirements and associated costs for available flights. So I'm going to complete the blank cells that need completed using formulas or functions whenever possible instead of constants. Mixed absolute and relative references as appropriate. Good formatting practices, but not obsessive compulsive. I need to use either VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP at least one time. Insert a chart that shows percentage of cost by each airplane type. And then here's some of the formulas that I might end up needing there. So let's go over here and let's look at the fuel required. So the fuel required, I am going to take the flying hours times the type of plane and how many hours it uses, and that will be my base level of fuel. So that's base fuel. So let's just take that right there. So there's my flying hours times VLOOKUP. I'm going to look up the type of plane, and I'm going to look that up down here in my table array, and I want in my table array, and I want to return the value in the third column. And I'm going to do an exact match because if someone has a typo, I don't want it to then roll down and choose the wrong one. So maybe the L1011 uses 3,200 gallons per hour, but when you start to type L, you accidentally type K1011, and then it would give you the gallons per hour for the DC-9, and you'd run out of fuel before you got there. So I want to do an exact match because of that reason. So so I look through there and I see that, yep, looking it up just fine there. So let's put the dollar signs to have the relative reference in front of my table. And now when I copy that down, everything copies fine. Okay. Reserve fuel. The reserve fuel depends on flying hours. If the flight is 3 hours or more, an additional 20% of fuel required is needed. If the flight is needed, if the flight is at least 2 hours but less than 3, additional 15%. If flight is 2 hours or less, an additional 10% of fuel required is needed. Okay, that's good to know. Let me figure out where I want to put that. Yeah, I'll put that right here. And actually, since it's an assumption, I'm going to put it down here. So let's see, that will be my reserve fuel requirements. Okay, and so let's look at the flying hours. So if the flying hour is 3 hours or more, let's start with the minimum. So 0 hours, we need 10%. Okay, and go ahead and format that as a percent. Okay. And then the next bump up is at least 2, but less than 3. Okay, so if it's 2 hours, then we're going to need 15%. And if it's 3 hours or more, then we need 20%. Okay, good. So there's my reserve fuel requirements. Okay. So for my reserve fuel here, I want to say equals V lookup. Last time I did the other way first, where I did the VLOOKUP last, but I want to look it up first this time just to show you the easy way of doing this. So I'm going to look up the flying hours since that's what that's based upon. I'm going to look it up on this table array that you notice is sorted in the increasing order here, so the 0, 2, 3. And then I want to return the second column, and it has to be an approximate match. So I'll go ahead and put my dollar signs in there. Okay. And just for the fun of it, I'm going to look here and copy that down. I'll copy the whole thing over again a little bit, but I'm just double checking here. So the flight hours, I see it's less than 3 but more than 2. That should be 15%, and it is. 1.25, that should be 10%, and it is. 3.1 should be 20%, and it is. So I feel pretty good that my formula there is correct for the reserve fuel. Now all I needed to do on that is multiply it by the fuel requirement, and then copy that down. And the holding fuel, I want to say that the holding fuel is the fuel requirement times the percentage of fuel required for holding. Let me double check. Holding fuel required times the percentage. Okay, good. Have that right. And when I copy that down, I do not want that 31 to move, so we'll put that there. Everything's good. Total fuel equals sum and then the cost is going to equal the total fuel times the value that I'll look up in my VLOOKUP table there. Or actually I'll use an if statement there, that will be easier. So let's do the if statement first, since that for a lot of people is going to be the harder part. So if total fuel is so the threshold's 4,000, so if the total fuel is greater than or equal to the 4,000, then I'm going to use that value because I reached the threshold. And then otherwise, I am going to use the 1.5. Okay. And the G4 I'll have move. This part's just for error checking. I'll have to retype. I'll have to recopy it down after I add the multiplier in there, but I'm just trying to see. And that looks right. Everything seems to be working the way I want it to. Well, I'm going to take that amount and multiply it times the total fuel cost. Okay. Now I have that. I'm going to try an experiment here, and let's do the auto sum for the max. And nope, when I do that, it goes ahead and goes all the way through the 12 there. I only want it to go through the 10. across. I could do the same thing with the average with the auto sum, but instead I'm just going to say equals average. And then the totals, I can auto sum that, and everything looks fine as far as that goes. The next thing is going to be the total cost by plane type. I'm going to say equals sum if range, and I see here it's going to be asking me for the range I'm summing, so that must be my criteria range. So with that being the case, put the range there. So if the range is this, okay, then let's sum right there, and okay, let's put some dollar signs in here. And just to do a quick little check of my work here, I'm going to type equals sum. And I see it's 53,161, which matches that, so I do feel good that my total there is most likely correct. Am I missing any spots here? Does everything look good? Everything is fine, so now all I need to do is just to clean this up a little bit. Oh, and add the chart. So, okay, so for the cost here, I'll go ahead and put that in accounting format. I'll go ahead and show the pennies. It's either way you do it, as long as you're consistent, you're fine. Total fuel. Let's go ahead and I'll use the comma format there, and I'm okay with rounding on that one. Holding fuel, reserve fuel, fuel required. The fractions are not a big deal, so I can get rid of those. And then for the flying hours, I'm just going to make that as a number, and I do want to show the decimal points on that because those are fairly small. I'm going to go ahead and underline this area. Okay, let's do the cost here as well. Do a little bit of bolding. Oh, that's price. And that's percent. Okay, so looking through there, my name. Now I could have you do that as a header or a footer or whatever, but let's just keep it simple for now. Everything looks good. So the last thing that I need to do on here, yeah, that's simple. Just looking over it to make sure everything looks fine. So the next thing I'm going to do on here is that I am going to take a quick look at this, and insert a chart that shows percentage of cost by each plane type. I already have that calculated here. If it asks fuel required or total fuel for each plane type, I could do that, but I've already got total cost, so that keeps it simple, thank goodness. And then when I look at which type of chart I want to use for percentages, the pie chart is a good chart to use. Once again, I'm going to keep it simple. And over here, let's put some data labels on there. And for my data labels, I want to show the percentage. And I don't need the values there because I just asked for percentage. That's kind of hard to read if I print it. So let's try putting it outside end. Yeah, that makes it easier to read. I've got the key there. Everything looks fine as far as that goes. So, okay. And let's look over here and just see real quick. If I look at my legend, is there a way I'd rather have it? Top right, top. Yeah, everything there looks fine on the position of the legend. Okay, nothing I'm wanting to change there on the legend options. So the next thing that I'm going to look at here is where do I want to put that. Obviously I don't want it where it's causing a problem there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this chart and I'm going to put it in news, and I'll call that fuel cost chart. Okay. I didn't specify where that had to go, and if you put it somewhere attractive in your fuel requirements, that would be fine as well. Or you can put it here. In any event, whichever place you put it, if whoever you're preparing the report for says they'd rather have it somewhere else, then you'll move it somewhere else. So that looks to me like that wraps up the practice test. I hope you have good luck on the real thing. Take care.